Alright everyone, the alt-left bullies at Buzzfeed, who are a lot like the ones at like Huffington Post, I'll be talking about that later again too, because it's kind of a funny story. It's a little bit more complex than it was the other day with regards to the O'Brien article there. The hit piece, basically, against Amy Mecklenburg. The propagandists at Buzzfeed now are targeting Change.org. They had a write-up about the Tommy Robinson petition, which I think has over 600,000 signees now, so it's obvious that a lot of people support the freedom of the press more than they thought. BuzzFeed doesn't want free press, it wants regulated press because it knows, hey, we've got the money and the alt media doesn't, so we're the ones that can survive regulation. That's what it all boils down to. Look, this has been done in other industries too. The reason why mom and pop bookstores go out and the big corporate giants destroy them, the reason why Walmart gets away with literal murder is because they have the army of lawyers and accountants. These firms do too. The best thing in the world for the CNNs, the Foxes, Breitbarts, for all of the Buzzfeeds, the Huffington Post, the best thing in the world would be these multi-million-dollar entities can just hire an extra lawyer and an extra accountant to get around some sort of regulation or tax that little people can't. Because then they could propagandize all they want. It would be a de facto state press at that point. It'd be very funny if they went down that route. You see them trying to do this on guns, by the way. They're trying to use the banking system to deny people their Second Amendment rights. Self-explanatory. Eventually, they'll probably try to do that with the First. You can say whatever you want online, but there's a tax you have to pay in order to do it. It's just something like that. They'll try it. You watch. They'll make that suggestion at some point. I'd be surprised if they hadn't already. But they're attacking the Change.org petition, saying basically, well, Tommy Robinson is hateful and a despicable person and a felon, so they shouldn't be able to petition to have him freed. And it's inaccurate. You see, it's not mentioning the part where he's a radical Islamophobic and he's a horrible Nazi bigot, and basically heaping the hyperbole, which is a new tactic that they're using. Like some of these people, the literal yellow journalists, they'll make a wall of hyperbole to create de facto one-dimensionality in the minds of their echo chamber audience. It's typically a small audience, but then they get them mad and they send them off to go do craftivism and raid people's channels or whatever. We've seen this before. Like Amy Mecklenburg, I wouldn't be surprised if she's gotten some nasty phone calls in the wake of, basically being doxxed by a so-called journalist. But the thing is, Change.org has come out and said, well, no, we're not going to remove it because there's nothing to remove. It's not against our terms of service. BuzzFeed apparently finds that problematic and is whining about the fact that they refuse to remove it. Instead of pointing out, oh, we're full of shit and the petition does not breach TOS, therefore there's no reason for them to remove it. By the way, it's not on the trending page. It's basically insinuating, oh, they wish they could remove it, but these Nazis have managed to fool them, and it's a bunch of bullshit. I'll tell you the significance here, because it goes beyond just Tommy Robinson or one petition. I mean, it helps lay bare the ass of the mollusk media, but it goes beyond this. Remember when GoFundMe refused to remove that fundraising page for that one dude who the case was some black teenagers had rolled up onto his property in a truck and he shot one of them. He believed he was being attacked. He claims he was being attacked, that they were probably going to rob him or something. He shot one and then basically it goes from there. And during the altercation, I think his pickup truck or something got damaged, and there was damage to like his home, and then he has legal fees, and so he's trying to raise money. And you'll remember there was a write-up, I think it was Salon that did the main write-up on that one. It might have been BuzzFeed, which would be really funny. Complaining about this and saying basically, well, this Nazi is getting money, and we don't like it, and we want it removed. And GoFundMe responded to people's outrage, and they said, no, it's not against the terms of service because he was found not guilty of the crime. If there's no crime, it doesn't matter if you think he's a racist. It doesn't matter who is donating the money. Nobody's breaking the law. Nobody's breaking our rules. We're not going to take it down. We're standing on principle here. Yeah, sometimes people you find objectionable make money on GoFundMe. Deal with that fact. And they were all red in the face and outraged. GoFundMe is doing fine now. All of these bigger firms, because profit motive is number one in any decent society. The one drawback, of course, is that oftentimes businesses will kowtow to craftivists. They'll bend over backwards for an angry mob in order to escape repercussions for standing up for what's actually right. GoFundMe and now Change.org have both shown that it is possible to stand up to the old guard, craptivistic, opportunistic corporate media, and its cronies, its little mobsters that run around and try to raid people's pages and dox people, and they try to get ad firms and sponsors to pull away from individuals for being offensive, whatever the fuck that means in any given era. This is how the dominoes begin to fall in the current moral outrage paradigm. The soccer moms will eventually realize that their whining gets them nowhere, because more and more people will stand up bravely against them. There will be people who refuse to be silenced. There will be companies that will not stop doing business with people simply because it offends somebody else. They will say, no, it's not against our rules and we're not changing our rules because they work. You can be offended all you want, but you don't get to tell us what to do. And they will realize it's like with the NFL protests right now. You're not hearing much about that from the old guard media now, are you? Because the outrage over everything that caused the protest to begin with has died down, but the protests themselves were still outraging people. The NFL chose eventually to stop the hemorrhaging of its money and now has decided to take care of the problem in order to save face, although it's kind of too late because football is lame anyway. Just putting that one out there. But the Tommy Robinson petition does not break their rules, so they're refusing to take it down. This is the second platform for activism that has stood against the angry mobs of the alt-left. The alt-left mobs are just a bunch of people that are really loud but ultimately dumb. They don't have original ideas. They're told what to do by Buzzfeed or Salon or Right Wing Watch. Those people will defame another individual or dox to harass or lie about somebody or go after a platform or a company, and then they'll basically say, well, they refuse, our glorious progressivism, even though it's corporatism. They pose as progressives. Like BuzzFeed poses as a left-wing outlet. It's just a corporatist outlet. They're 100% fucking total establishmentarians there. They're not out there. They're not on the far left, except maybe they want a tax on speech that they find offensive so that they can keep their competitors from speaking. Did anybody ever think that maybe it was the almighty dollar that was ultimately controlling all these fuckers? That's what they want. Why do you think they go after YouTube all the time? YouTubers are their primary competitors now. Primary competitors aren't CNN's 68-year-old average audience. You think that they compete with BuzzFeed? No, but I do. Razorfist does. Lionel does. Malnu does. The Sargon does. Paul Joseph Watson. Yeah, we compete with them and we outcompete them. And therein lies the point. There's a reason that they like the muzzled press of the UK, and that's what this is really about. They're angry at the petition, not because Nazi, but because clickbait, because money. Because people like Tommy Robinson scoop them. That's what they're worried about. They're afraid of the new media. They're afraid of people who aren't afraid of them, in other words. That's a great way to sum it up. The BuzzFeeds and Huffington Posts are terrified of people that will not bend over and start apologizing whenever they're defamed by the corporate media. They're terrified of them. Because their MO essentially is, hey, this person said something offensive 5 years ago. They should apologize. Go get them, angry leftist mob. And if that person does not apologize, says, fuck off. Oh my goodness. Oh, this person's literally Hitler. And it's like, people are learning now. Roseanne learned this the hard way, of course. Apologizing doesn't do any good anyway. Apologizing, appeasing them. You don't negotiate with terrorists. That's literally what they are. They're hoping that you're afraid. They are terrorists, ideologically speaking. I mean, they're not really going out and bombing people, but they're hoping that the dude with the MAGA hat will take it off because they want him to be afraid to walk out on the street because he thinks he's going to get punched if he wears it. They want you to be afraid of being harassed, of losing your job, of losing your platform, losing your income, of losing everything. They want you to be afraid. That's when they win. If you go around silent and in fear all the time, the establishmentarians fundamentally have won. They hope to do this back in the 60s too against the counterculture. Now we're basically worry about being dragged off to jail, worry about being selectively drafted, worry about being punched in the face by a cop. Look at Kent State. Don't end up like those kids. The one school shooting that the establishment now never talks about. the one school shooting whose anniversary they mysteriously forget to cover. I wonder why that could be. Yeah, there's a reason for it. These goofy authoritarians will lose. It's just a matter of how quickly we can sort of nip it in the bud and keep it from growing its toxic thorns. That's about all. Peace out.